Hi again guys, and welcome to another specific car review for Gran Turismo Sport, and this is another Vision GT model which we are featuring. One of my personal favourites, I have to say, not just of Gran Turismo Sport but also GT6 included. This is exactly what the Vision GT program is all about. Imagination, not just advertising the next design style from your company, which is what brands like Mitsubishi and BMW and Honda chose to do, which to me is just pathetic. Come on, you had the opportunity to make an amazing car, and of course from a business standpoint that makes sense, but that's such a boring thing to do, and it is a game after all, but whatever. This car, cars are like this, or the Chaparral, these are the cars that really make the best of the Vision GT program. Because what they do is they do the marketing thing. They do combine values and tech that the company has to offer, in this case particularly what the company offers, but also combining it with that imagination which makes the best Vision GT cars so good. Your Tomahawks, your Chaparrals, your Mazda LM55s, the cars which use the technology of the company, pay homage to their legends, but also look to the future and just have plain fun. This Hyundai does that. And the crazy thing for me personally about this particular car, the Hyundai N 2025, is that I basically designed this car when I was like 10 years old. Not specifically, of course, but I designed a car which looked very much like this, especially from the back. And the similarity even went beyond that, because this vehicle, which I designed way back then, a car which I thought was pretty clever at the time, but turned out to be not so much, was a vehicle which would be powered purely by natural magnetism, using magnets inside the wheels as separate motors so that you could just put your foot down, which would angle the magnets forward, thrusting the car along, giving you insane amounts of totally clean energy and incredible performance. The disadvantage at the time was that I didn't really fully understand how magnets worked and their limitations, so ultimately I found that of course that wouldn't work. However, this car does a very similar thing. It's powered by in-wheel motors, or rather driven by in-wheel motors in a very similar way to my car. Looks similar as well, also has a single direct drive gear like mine. The similarities probably do add to my love for this vehicle, but beyond that, the cars are different, of course. Now, in terms of this vehicle, I mentioned that it pays homage to older Hyundais in a general sense, of course. There's no road-going Hyundai that looks like this, but also to their technology, because this vehicle is powered in a similar way to the Chaparral by a very interesting alternative tech. It's powered by a hydrogen fuel cell, or rather two hydrogen fuel cells, which give you 670 horsepower combined, but then it uses a regenerative braking supercapacitor to increase that by another 200 horsepower up to 870. I love stuff like this, as you can probably tell. It also produces a huge amount of torque, 1,086 pound-feet to be exact, and in a car that only weighs 972 kilos, that's going to give you pretty incredible performance potential. Now, as I said, it is direct drive, and the acceleration delivery, again, instantly appeals to me because I love the way electric cars perform, like a Tesla P100D, but at the same time, of course, my favourite engine, the gas turbine, also delivers very similar acceleration. It doesn't fly up through the gears like a F1 car does, for instance. It just has this relentlessly building acceleration. This car has exactly that. Now, the potential disadvantage for some players is that it doesn't feel as fast. It actually is. It's incredibly fast, but it doesn't feel it and it doesn't sound it, and that can lull players into not really thinking about how fast you're actually going. Now, with all-wheel drive and very impressive aerodynamics, so much so it doesn't even have a traditional rear wing, you could be fooled into thinking that this is more of a show car than it is a performance machine. But it's not. This car is very capable around the track. It takes no time at all to get up around 220, 230 miles per hour, and the handling is nothing like any of the other VGTs. It has all-wheel drive, but in a totally different way, of course, with the in-wheel motors. So the handling has this strange, eerie quality to it. Now, some people will definitely not like the handling, and I can totally understand why. The braking as well. And the reason why I say that is because the braking and the handling with the way that the performance is delivered is kind of not emotionless, but it's a little duller than in a typical car. The lack of sound, for the most part, also adds to that. But again, if you enjoy driving stuff like Teslas or Fiskas on the game, or the Tajima e-runner, then you'll be used to something like this. The main advantage of this car is that, unlike an electric vehicle, which has upper speed limitations or just speed limits to protect the batteries, which is the case in a Tesla or a Mercedes SLS electric drive, this car doesn't have that limitation. It can go way beyond that, in a very similar way to my personal favourite electric car, the Rimac Concept 1, which also has a very, very high top speed in real life. Now, incidentally, the car does have a purpose in the grand scheme of things beyond just tech. It actually pays homage to the 50th anniversary of Hyundai. And I must say, on a totally separate point before this car, I love the Hyundai brand. They are, like Kia and Skoda and a number of others, really on the up in recent years. They're becoming much more popular, much more respected, and I love to see that because they make some fantastic cars. Even the Hyundai Genesis Coupe on Gran Turismo 6 shows the kind of potential that they have. The sheer power and performance on that car is incredible. Now, this vehicle is a car which isn't going to appeal to everyone because of the way it delivers its performance. But the simple fact is, for 1 million credits, it's one of the best VGTs in the game all round. The handling is incredible, the acceleration is relentless, the top speed is easily up there with stuff like the McLaren Ultimate VGT, and overall it's a surprisingly beginner-friendly car as well. It can slip and slide a little bit because of the power and torque, but it takes no time at all to get used to driving this thing. It's remarkably forgiving, and overall I am thoroughly pleased with this car. Now, with that being said, this is the Gr.X version that I purchased. I have not purchased the Group 1, so I would be interested to find out the differences between the two. But overall, even if it is worse, that doesn't hurt this one. This one's still brilliant, even if the Group 1 version isn't. And so, overall, it's pretty obvious what my verdict for this car is. Regardless of my personal feelings, which are very strong in the case of this car, it's just a great vehicle. Regardless of who made it, even if Skoda had made this car, well, that's not a good example because I love Skoda as well, but if a company which I maybe don't like made it, say BMW or Audi, companies which I'm not a super fan of, I would still have to say it's an incredible machine because it quite simply is. It shows perfect levels of imagination, usable performance, homage to the company's past, and use of their real technology. Because back in 2013, Hyundai did actually produce the first mass production hydrogen fuel cell in real life. So this car has all of those perfect ties to the real world to just keep that level of believability there, just enough to have fun, but at the same time, like the Tomahawk and the Chaparral, it's crazy enough to keep gamers happy. But overall, that's it for this particular review. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.